So, Anthropic just dropped Claude Code on the web and iOS, taking it from a pretty niche command line tool and throwing it into the mainstream. And look, this isn't just another app launch. This is their massive bet on a whole new way of developing software, what they call agentic. Today, we're going to break down that vision, this seriously impressive tech they built for it, and the pretty harsh reality check that came along for the ride. And this really gets to the heart of it, right? This is the central question their new tech forces every single one of us to ask. Because if their vision pans out, a developer's job is about to get a major shakeup. Let's dig into what that future actually looks like. Okay, so first up, we've got to wrap our heads around the massive paradigm shift Anthropic is talking about here. This isn't about, just making you a faster typist. It's about completely changing your role, from being the person banging out code at the keyboard to becoming the manager of a whole team of AI agents. And the ambition here is, well, it's huge. Anthropic's CEO Dario Amodei basically predicts that if AI writes 90% of the code, engineers will get to spend all their time supervising and tackling only the toughest 10% of problems. So the idea isn't to replace you, but to make you exponentially more productive by turning you into a strategic overseer, a real force multiplier. So you might be wondering, okay, how is this really any different from the tools I'm already using? Well, it all comes down to one keyword: agentic. This isn't just a smarter autocomplete. No way. It's a fundamentally different way of working with AI. They call this agentic delegation, and it's a game changer. You're not asking for the next line of code anymore. Instead, you're giving the AI a high-level goal, like refactor this entire microservice, and it's expected to handle the whole shebang, totally on its own, from making a plan all the way to creating the final pull request. This comparison really puts it into perspective. Think of GitHub Copilot as your pair programmer, right? It's sitting next to you, helping you write code line by line. Super helpful for accelerating your work. But Claude Code is positioned as an agentic partner. You delegate an entire workflow to it, and it goes off and does the job in its own private cloud space. One helps you work faster, the other does the work for you. Now, to keep this powerful agent from going off the rails, Anthropic recommends a very specific workflow. You don't just throw a task at it and cross your fingers. First, you have it explore and really understand the context of your code base. Then, and this is the crucial part, you make it create a detailed plan before it writes a single line of code. Only after you give that plan the thumbs up does it actually start coding. This keeps the human in the driver's seat, making the strategic calls. All right, but this all begs a massive question, doesn't it? How on earth do you let an autonomous AI run wild in your environment safely? This is where Anthropic has done some really fascinating engineering, building a whole security model from the ground up. Their solution is this really clever, multi-layered security model. First off, every single task runs in its own disposable virtual machine in the cloud. It's totally isolated from your system. Then, inside that VM, it's sandboxed even further, with super strict rules about what files and network resources it can touch. And finally, any chats with your code repo have to go through a secure proxy with very limited permissions. It's basically a zero-trust playground for the AI. And you can see here just how much of a step up this is for the web version. The old command line tool, it had to rely on your local operating system for security. But the new web version uses these fully isolated virtual machines. That's a much stronger security boundary, and it offers way better protection for your credentials through that secure proxy. And the thinking behind all this security tech is what they call the boundary principle. Basically, you build a really strong fence around the AI upfront. By setting clear, strict boundaries from the start, it can work autonomously inside that fence without having to constantly bug you for permission. It's what enables that autonomy without just throwing security out the window. Okay, so the vision, it's incredible. The security architecture, super impressive. But, and this is a big but, this is where the story takes a pretty sharp turn. The big launch of the web and iOS versions happened right at a time when they were having significant real-world problems that created what you could call a trust deficit with their users. This quote from a developer just says it all, doesn't it? I mean, when you're shelling out serious cash for a tool that's supposed to save you time, and it ends up costing you more time to fix its mistakes, well, the entire value proposition just evaporates. The return on investment completely disappears. And let's not forget the price tag here. We're talking about plans that can cost up to $200 a month. People were reporting that they'd burn through their entire monthly limit in just a few days, only to be left with code that was buggy or flat out unusable. This isn't just annoying, it's a real hit to the wallet. And look, this wasn't just a bad day or a one-off glitch. As you can see from this timeline, this was a sustained problem, lasting for months. Users started noticing drops in quality way back in August, and it happened right as they were trying to do this huge launch. That created a real cloud of doubt around the platform's reliability. So Anthropic did release a post-mortem, and this part is absolutely key. They said the root cause wasn't the AI model itself suddenly getting dumber. It was a series of nasty, overlapping bugs in their infrastructure, things like routing errors and corrupted output. It's a huge reminder that the stability of the whole platform is just as important as how smart the AI model is. This all leads to what you could call a double penalty for users. So, when the AI messes up, you're hit twice. First, you waste your valuable time cleaning up the mess. And second, you're burning through that expensive monthly quota for nothing. It creates a massive barrier for any professional trying to actually rely on this tool to get their job done. So, after all that, where do we stand? On one hand, you have this incredible futuristic vision for software development, backed by some really solid security. But on the other, you've got the harsh reality of performance problems and a punishing financial model. Let's try to synthesize all this for engineering leaders out there. This table really breaks down that fundamental conflict. You've got these incredible strengths, right? The agentic power, the top-notch security, but each one has a strategic risk attached. That agentic power is useless if performance issues destroy your trust. The great security could be too complex, and the financial model can totally undermine your ROI. Weighing these is the real challenge here. So what can you actually do about it? Well, here's some actionable advice. First up, sources suggest the newer Sonnet 4.5 model is actually better for coding, so make that your go-to. Second, use the enterprise controls to lock down exactly what the agent can and can't do. Third, you have to enforce that human-in-the-loop workflow we talked about. No unsupervised runs on important code. And finally, just be ready for things to be unstable for a while. And that really brings us to the big final question. Anthropic has successfully built the secure, accessible architecture that an agentic revolution needs. The foundation is laid, but the billion-dollar question is, can they build the reliability to actually earn the trust of the developers they're counting on to lead it?